So I know I've been hyping this video up over the last couple days, the video from the IMN Global Indexing and ETF Conference out at the beautiful Monarch Beach Resort in Dana Point. But I'm really excited about this project because I was fortunate enough to have a handful of my friends join me in my room for a conversation. And this conversation was not scripted. They didn't know what we were going to talk about beforehand, and really I didn't know what we were going to talk about until we all got there. And I just wanted to have a conversation amongst people who I view as leaders of our profession, especially amongst the younger advisors. So I view us as the advisors amongst many others who weren't at the conference. I can't have everybody in one hotel room. There are many people across the country that I'm friends with that could very easily fill this, and honestly in the future, hopefully I'll do more of these at other conferences. But these are people I view as leaders who are taking our profession to the next level in a better, more inclusive way, and changing business models and making this profession something that we all want to be a part of for the long term. So when we got together, the conversation ranged from everything from diversity and inclusion to there not being a set career path for people wanting to come into the profession, and we also talked about things that we're excited about. Now, we didn't just identify things that we think need to be fixed or improved upon. We also gave answers to how we think that these changes could come about, whether through ourselves, collectively as a group, but how do we make the profession better and move it forward. So keep your eye on some of these advisors. Some of them you may know. They're all doing great things today, and they're going to be doing even better things in the future. So these will be some of the leaders of our profession going forward. If you're not a financial advisor, take comfort in that the advisors that are leading the profession are talking about things more than just investments. We're talking about how do we better serve you? How do we improve the business model? How do we include more people that have never had access to financial advice in the past? How do we change that going forward? This is a very important conversation. This is happening all the time. I'm just fortunate that I was able to capture it on film to share with all of you. Now, this video ended up being close to 60 minutes. I told everybody I wanted a half hour of the time. This is how generous they were and how good the conversation was. So what I've done is divided it into 3 segments. The first segment is really going to be about the diversity and inclusion issue that's within our profession and how we think we can fix it. The second segment is more about how do we create a career path, what are other business model flaws that are out there, how do we fix it, and then the final segment is going to be what is it that's keeping us excited about the future. There's very little editing in this. This is very real. I wanted you to be there in the conversation with us. So we might be joking about things. There's gonna be laughter. Somebody's gonna get up to go to the restroom. This is all real. I wanted you to be there as if you're a fly on the wall. So come on and join me for this conversation amongst a handful of my friends. I'll be doing this again, hopefully at WellStack. There'll be a lot of good advisors there that I would love to recreate this and have another conversation, maybe about different topics, but just continue to move our profession forward with good advisors, taking care of clients and putting clients' interests first above everything else. So I hope you enjoy this. Give me some feedback. You can find me out on Twitter. You know where I'm at. And I'll see you all hopefully with another one of these after the WellStack conference in September. If we could snap our finger and change, what else would we change?
I think Scott could probably speak to this a bit too, but there needs to be some sort of way, a training program for younger advisors to feel welcome into this. And I know that you've talked about like an apprenticeship program, you know, almost like a residency. And all of those things would be so valuable because you shouldn't just have to go to a wirehouse, grind it out for a few years. Like I would crash and burn. Like I would not be in this profession right now if that would have been the path that I had to take. Like I joined my father's wealth management firm and worked my way up. And that's how I was able to like blaze my own trail and break off and do my own thing with my brother. But like if it's just all sales and life insurance and annuities and stuff, like it's just not going to work. And because it's too high pressure. Like I would never thrive in that environment. So we need to show that people are providing, you know, quality financial planning and doing it in a way that is really supportive for families and train them to do that, train them to go forward.
As well as build diversification, I think, within your firms. As you guys grow and are starting to add other team members, partners into your firm, diversify in that manner. And if you guys look at my firm, it's like the United Nations. Right. You know, I have Middle Eastern people, I have a Japanese advisor, I have myself, I have my wife who's also Mexican who works with me, and another Latina. So just building it out that way helps. Not only for bringing more diversity into the industry, but working with those individuals that would feel a lot more comfortable talking to someone from their ethnicity. You know, there's things that as a culture that I might relate to another Armenian, as well as my wife can feel a lot more comfortable talking to a Hispanic client. They're going to open up to them and talk to them because they can relate on that stuff. So I think there's a lot of work that could be done in that regards, and as you guys grow your firms, that's something to take into consideration. Obviously, you want to have the right person to help and hire as you grow, but look at it from that lens, how we can help and bring a lot more into the community.
So growing the diversity, how do we incorporate it, like the apprenticeship program? Like short of you starting it, but like how could you? Let's say there's not official program out there, but you want to incorporate that. Like, what's the way a firm can do that? Like, how do you do that in the future for your firm?
There are firms who are doing it. I know Jude Boudreau took on a resident
Yep.
in the past, and he's on FinTwit. And I think there are other firms who are looking at it from a growth standpoint and deciding that if you get to a point where you're growing and you realize that if you don't have your own training program, you overpay for people who don't match your culture. So you have an amazing opportunity to teach people how to really how to use the soft skills of finance, right? Kids are coming out very educated, far more educated than I was. I got a corporate finance degree in undergrad, right? And had to learn how to do all the personal financial stuff. But you still have to learn how to communicate with people. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things, is teaching people. And in all honesty, it gets back to everything we've already talked about.
Yeah.
How do you teach people to be curious? How do you teach people the question of, I'm interested to get to know you. I'm not interested to tell you what I think I know, but I want to know who you are so I can help you on your journey. Like, that's the highest form of financial planning and money management, right? Is helping people intentionally align their money with their life. If you do that, that's a higher calling, right? Like that's getting into things that like priests get to do and ministers get to do. And like we can do that with people and their money. It's one of the most taboo topics people ever talk about. They don't talk about money to anyone, including their family members, sometimes their spouse, right? So I think if you look at it from that standpoint, I think that's a pretty powerful thing.
I think residency programs are great, and we could do more in that department. I think one thing that our profession is really missing is a clear path, a clear career path.
Right.
If you want to be a doctor, there's a clear career path. If you want to be an attorney, there's a clear path.
Right.
There's very few firms out there that actually have a clear path for young people coming into this business.
There is a clear path. Do you have 100 names you can write down?
Come
on in.
I mean, there's one firm I can think of, which is Abacus, right? Like he has a clear, I should say, they have a clear path for young people, really anybody coming into their firm. If they want to get to here, there's a clear path for them to get there. Right. And that's something we're missing. The other thing we're missing is standardization in our titles, right?
For sure.
Financial advisor, financial planner, wealth manager, if I could snap my finger, it'd be one thing I'd love to change is just standardize our titles.
But also, what does it mean to everyone, right? Like, there's so many firms that do investment management. They do comprehensive financial planning, but they really do investment management with light financial planning. So learning how to be an advisor there is vastly different than working for someone who truly does financial planning, and investment management's a component, right? So it's like, I agree, standardizing everything would make a huge impact.
To just jump on what you're saying, like when you're talking about, like, okay, so if you want to be a doctor, you know what you need. You want to be an attorney, you know what you need to do. And we don't have, like, I don't know how we can do that. It's going to take if you're saying, okay, everybody that comes in, if you want to be a CFP, then you know what you have to do. But everything else doesn't have anything, and I don't know if it's going to be a firm that can do that or if it's going to be the industry that does that. You know what I mean? Because the advocates can have that program, but if I'm going to school and I'm graduating and then I know what am I going to do next? I have to go, do I have to find advocates, or is there like a profession that I can get into? Mm-hmm. And I think for our industry to turn into a profession, we're going to have to make have some career paths so people can say, okay, I want to be a financial planner, or what, then we have the alphabet soup of names and all the stuff.
And there's also this misconception that if you're going to be a financial planner, then you have to be a salesperson, right? Like we still haven't cleared that up. As an industry, as a profession. And so I talked to San Diego State's got a great program. They've got a CFP program built in. So I do a lot of work with them. These kids are graduating with CFPs, and they still don't have a place to go. They still don't know what they want to do. And so helping them find a home that matches what they're interested in, what they're good at, what they want to spend their time doing. And they don't want to be necessarily a salesperson knocking on doors. So,
but like as firms like yours become better and better with your marketing, they aren't going to need to sell. Right? You're going to need someone who can step in and do the work and serve people. They don't have to necessarily go sell. So I think that's coming, but it's the steps we take to get there.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had like they have these different groups. They got another, you got XYPN, you have the Garrett, you have all these groups. If we had a group of advisors like that, where this is the program where we're putting people that are graduating from. And then when they graduate through this program or the residency program, like, you know, so it can be a larger group, when they get out of this program, firms like yours, like ours, like we can say, okay, these are the people that you want to work with because they've come through this firm, and it can be like a national thing, not something that's regional. Now, some of their stuff will be online, Zoom meetings, what have you, where we put together a curriculum, so we know that not only this person has the book smarts to get through and graduate with CFP, but now we're going to have to talk about how to work with people and how you communicate, how you and all that part of the financial planning, which I think would be probably a much easier to do, to have it as a larger thing, and all of us would contribute to that, and then be able to say, okay, now when these people, we have a graduating class that is, these residents have come through this program, these are the firms that we work with. Now we can have you go to these firms, and we kind of have like a one-all big thing that just came up.
Yeah, a paid internship program.
That's truly what a residency program is.
That's backed by the profession.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that through the FPA, the FPA residency program?
So that's I think that's where they go to college for a week, and they do like intensive training. I think
There's
that's
some program where they go to a firm for 2 years. You commit to somebody that comes into your firm and works for 2 years.
I haven't dove that deep on the FPA side.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen the FPA residency.
There's something out there.
But
Yeah.
I think that's just to get your requirement for
CFP.
CFP. I think it's just solely for that. So I don't know if we're in just, I guess the question would be, are we talking about taking someone from CFP or getting people after they have the CFP, or kind of both? Like, what's the format of what that would be? Well, you gotta have all the answers.
I don't know.
There's
But
a
I do
lot
know a
of
lot of
work
kids
there.
are graduating these days, out of undergrad with their CFP, and they're like, "What do I do now?"
Yeah.
That
Where do I
should
go?
that should be the
Right.
thing. If you have it, they should be.
Yeah.
I want to chime in on your thought. You said about qualitative advice and having those conversations being like a higher calling, right? I really believe in that. And I think that, just circling back to diversity means hope. But when you get a family that's been unbanked or have never worked with a financial advisor before, they come into your office and you lead with selling, they're never coming back. You've
Right.
ruined the reputation for the industry forever. And they're going to tell their friends, like, all they want to do is sell you insurance.
Yeah.
Or all they want to do is this, right? So how do you think, as a industry in our respective firms, we can really work on having those higher level alignment conversations with clients? Because I think that's what sticks.
Yeah.
Right. So how can we do that?
So I do financial life planning, which I was taught by George Ginder and the Ginder Institute, which is really looking at the simplest version that I've had it explained to me is I pretend that you have 10 marbles in your pocket and you're going to come and have a conversation with me. And my goal in that conversation is just to let you put your 10 marbles out on the table, and I'm not going to judge anything about them. I'm not going to tell you the third one was, oh, amazing, you live in San Francisco, I used to live there too, because then what I just told you was the first two don't matter to me, and whatever you come out with after doesn't. Right? I want to play the game of, I want to know you. Who are you? And then I want to give you the time and space to prioritize those marbles for yourself. What matters most to you? What do you want to get out of life? Then let's look at what we should do with your money. And I think in our profession we could eventually take it, and if we can grow bigger firms, you could take it to looking at how are you optimizing your skill sets at work so your time and energy make more money for you when you're younger, right? What are things you can do to get bigger raises now when you're younger? What's that going to do for your financial life versus me helping you optimize a portfolio? I think there's lots of things we can do there, but it all starts with building a trusting relationship and me not judging you and always coming from a beginner's mindset of what you want to get out of this relationship before I help you look at what we need to do next.
Yeah, our firm practices financial life planning as well. And I just describe it simply to clients as we align your goals with your resources. So we take what you want to do and what you have, and we make it work together. And I don't care what your goals are. Your goals can be any number of things. It can be travel or sabbaticals or retire early or whatever. And then we talk about how can we make that happen with the resources that you have, and can we grow your resources if some of your goals are a little bit unattainable or a little out of reach right now. And yeah, having those conversations and not coming from like a sales standpoint, that's why some people work with me, because I've had spouses say we don't want to work with a man because they talk down to my wife, or they just push life insurance, or they're sleazy.
Yeah.
And so then they come talk to me, and I'm in Portland, so I'm usually like in jeans and a probably nice-ish shirt. And I'm in Portland, so I'm like super casual in my office, and we just chit chat, and it's like friends getting together, and it isn't this like huge formal process. And I try to make them feel like welcome, and that they also can have goals that if I'm like, that goal is crazy, that I'm not saying that to them. Like, if they want to climb up Kilimanjaro, go for it. Like, let's make it happen for you. Like, I don't care. They're your goals.
The whole purpose in my mind is everyone has entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
Everyone has their own top version of who they can be as a person. And our job is to help them see that in themselves, and then look at their money, their time, and their energy, and their skill, and look at how do you optimize those things for that person.
Absolutely. Talking about titles, and my first job in San Mateo, California, they called every advisor investment counselors. And it was because of that. They wanted to counsel the clients through their life, right? And then investments. It should have been flipped, right? Because it was counseling first, and then investments came later. And I think that's our responsibility, is to be a counselor, almost a therapist at times, as these clients are going through different stages of their life. And hopefully we can optimize their money with the investments to help them do what they want to do. And I really admire advisors that kind of have that same sentiment about the industry.
I have a thought, but I know we have some of us that are on panels. It's 1:15, so we're running longer because that took a while to get set up. Does anybody have to be down at 1:30 for 2 o'clock panel or anything?
I got to be 10 minutes early for mine, 1:50.
Okay.
I think
All right.
2 o'clock is the first one.
Okay. Yeah, so make sure nobody is down late.
2.
So my thought was going to be, how do we get more people doing it? I think that it's the apprenticeship program. If the CFP doesn't teach you the life planning process, and I know there's a designation for that, but it doesn't teach that deeper asking questions. It teaches you how to do, different trust situations and portfolios, but make the curriculum more about the qualitative stuff. And the software does a lot of the quantitative stuff for us anyways. We can get the numbers, teach us how to help people have those conversations, become a listener. That's more important. And on the tail end, you can throw the numbers on. That's the easy part, really. It's the communication, it's the listening, it's the being able to read people, and they might say one thing, but you can read body language that tells you that's not really what they mean, and you can pick up on that. So I think that the apprenticeship program and teaching that over the numbers, and you do that after the fact. So I think that is one way to bring it up. So whether that is making the life planner designation the standard for a financial planning process, or a component CFP and life planner together, it's a new designation, and that is the gold standard. Because we were walking and talking today, and Tyrone asked me about CFP and the importance of it. I said, really, until that becomes the standard and there's really more weight behind it, I don't think this, the CFP I think is important, and I have it, I think it's valuable, but there are a lot of good advisors that aren't CFPs, and there are a lot of bad advisors that aren't CFPs. I think there's not a lot of bad doctors, because you get sued, you get arrested, you get put out of business. There's no disadvantage to being a bad CFP. Mm-hmm. The worst thing that happens is you lose your letters, and no big deal. You don't go to jail for it. So something that has more weight behind it, that is more valuable, then the public can tell that, okay, that's the difference. That's who I want to work with.
So much of it's a mind shift, though, it has to occur for planners. Because for planners, we're trained to solve people's problems. Mm-hmm. So your job is to go in and tell people the answer. And what you learn is that my job is not to tell you the answer yet. My job is to listen to you first. And that's a vulnerable position for a planner to be, especially if you're a young planner, because you want to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. But what you really need to do in that moment is listen, so that you can help them understand what the answer actually is by asking questions.
And it's not only a mind shift for the advisor, it's also for clients.
Oh, for sure. They go in, they're like, here's my portfolio. What should I do with it?
Here's my exactly. And
let's talk about it.
Our clients, and is the public ready to be that vulnerable in their seat? Are they ready to come into somebody that they just met or a referral and put their 10 marbles on the table?
Right. So I tell all clients this is what we do ahead of time.
Right.
And a lot of people choose not to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Isn't it funny, though, that you would never go to a doctor and say, hey, what prescription should I be taking? They'd be like, oh, there's a lot of stuff I got to ask you first before I write you a prescription. But it's funny that we've set this standard where people think they can just show you their portfolio and you're going to
tell me what I should do.
So before we do the next one, that's where we need to be. We need to be, don't come to us just for the prescription right away. What do we do as a group, as advisors, as investment professionals? How do we change it so that is the expectation, other than telling clients when they call you, but how do we set the expectation for the public to know that when you work with a financial advisor, you're not getting the prescription right away?
Honestly, the best way to do it for a prospective client is to just give them a taste of it. And the way you do that is they come in and you say, what brings you here today? and let them talk, and go with them and listen and don't offer it, and then give it back to them what you just said. They said, and anything else.
If you're doing most of the talking, it's a bad meeting.
Learn how to pause. Like you do that, you'll be amazed what people will say to you.
Oh yeah, that's.
I hope y'all catching this free jewelry. Man, I'm like, it's falling out my pocket.
Every sermon.
Man!
Go to all
He
Dr.
is
Benjamin
preaching.
podcast and listen to Scott on my podcast.
Man, it's
Well,
in
not-
the buckets
it's not
and
me.
everywhere. I'm full.
It's a learned behavior, right? We can all learn how to do this. Yeah, you just have to you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
I got a question. I guess it would be like, so I heard you talking about people that are unbanked, and people that have never had financial advisors, people that aren't coming in with a portfolio, people that want to do something, but they think that I need to come in here and purchase something, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I need to come try to buy life insurance from you, or I need to do this. How do you take that person that doesn't have or never had an experience with a financial advisor, doesn't have much money, and then try to help them do this stuff? Because that's like when you start talking to them, what I've experienced is you kind of, you have to be able to articulate the value that you have, but sometimes that's kind of difficult for someone that doesn't know what they don't know. And how have you guys dealt with that, or have you ever had to deal with clients like that?
Well, dealing with it personally, again, I was 26 years old when I found out the stock market existed. I mean, I walked onto Wall Street and literally walked by the New York Stock Exchange, and it could have been a snake, it would have bit me, right? So I think what I've learned through my own personal experience and in struggling now to get my parents, right, who've been together 40 years, they just got their first bank account together, 40 years together unbanked, it's a mindset shift. Right, and then you have to get into, I always ask people, the first question I ask, no matter who it is what's your relationship with money? And I want to know whether it's an abundance mindset or is it a scarcity mindset. And that is there's a lot to go into each of those, because you get into greed and fear and all of these other things. But what I've learned is, again, getting proximate to these people and again living it personally. So I guess I have personal experience there. Is listening helps, but also getting them to understand that it's part of the mindset of how they actually look at money, and then because of how you look at it is how you deal with it, right? And then you go to, all right, well, let's take a look at your spending, right? And then you'll start to see, I always tell people, I don't need to know anything about you. Give me 3 months of your spending. I know where, how often, like all these different things. So for me, it's a lot of listening, but I'm very aware of really getting people to feel, all right, well, that mindset has to change, right? Of being poor is a condition that could be changed. Poverty is a mindset, right? So if you can get them to understand and change, and I struggled for a long time, right? I mean, I've been very fortunate to have, people around me teach me about money. It took a really long time before I actually started to get it. Because even working on Wall Street, first thing I did, I started making good money. I bought jewelry, I got a car. I'm like, yeah, I'm rich. Right, it was like rich, rich. So I think it's really a mindset shift, and really feeling what people go through, and then the source of that pain, right? What is it from? Is it lack of resources, right? Just not enough money? Is it spending habits? A combination of both? Is it where you live? Is your inability to travel? Consistency in work or whatever? Because what you realize, and we've had conversations about this to start or whatever. It's like, when you come from low income environments, it's time in line, time to go pay. So if I can get an hour of my time back, it's an hour I can spend at work. I get an hour of my time back, it's an hour more I can sleep. Now I'm at work, or I can, so once you get into that, you can give them their time back. That's what most financial advisors can do for poor folk. Why don't you try this? Use technology to do this, that, whatever. Get their time back. Then all of a sudden, the income starts to increase. And then you talk about investments way later.
To your point, I think that as advisors, we don't do a good job talking to clients through our meetings. And we talk about this all the time. I'm like, Tyrone, I could care less about writing for advisors, right, or like making podcasts for other advisors. The mindset shift occurs when we create content for the client that says, hey, if you try this, maybe it'll work for you, right? So all of my content is very basic, to the forum, you'll be like, does he know what he's talking about? This is super simple. But some people need that. Our communities need that, because once they get that and they experience that, I can actually do this. I can make these small victories that result into a big victory. Then it's like I should continue this shift in my mindset because it's making really, really big change, right? So I think that's what it is.
Tyron and I were talking about this yesterday. I think you've got to go back to the fundamentals of educating the client. So depending on what level they're at, some of them might need basic ideas of understanding, well, this is how a checking account works. You know, we talked about that yesterday. Or this is the simple thing of a retirement plan. Some of them have never done it, never been educated on it. So just sitting down and having that simple conversation, but not at a level where I'm talking down at you, but I'm talking with you and teaching you so you understand these concepts, and then taking it from there and seeing if that could apply in their life.
And I think the important part of all this is that when you have that client coming in, because most of these clients that are having these types of thoughts or don't understand money, usually they're minorities.
Yeah.
100%.
And so if we don't have more minorities from whatever walk of life they are, they're not going to come in and ever start doing planning or ever do investments because they don't see someone that looks, acts, talks, and feels like them.
Yep.
So it's our, it's our responsibility to make sure that we get more people that look like the people that we need to serve in our industry to serve the people
Absolutely.
that need to be it.
Absolutely.
So,
And they have to be comfortable to open up about these things, because this could be something they're embarrassed about. They might be embarrassed to say, I don't even have a checking account. I don't even have a retirement plan. And, in 5 years I'm supposed to retire. So you got to make them feel comfortable to be able to open up and discuss these things with you.
because how many times have you guys been in a meeting where a client comes in and they just beat themselves up the whole time?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, I don't have this, and I don't have
much,
that.
but-
Yeah. Let me tell you about not much. Let me tell you about not much.
Yeah, I always try to separate out money and morality. Like money is just a thing. There's nothing that we need to attach to money. You can be poor and moral and wealthy and immoral. Like it doesn't matter, but we all attach so much emotion to money, and we think like, oh, if we have credit card debt, we're a bad person. No, it just means you have credit card debt. Okay, so let's work on paying it off. Like let's make it happen. Like I just don't judge, and I'm like really adamant that we just shouldn't have shame around money. And like if I ever write a book, which would require a lot of sitting down for me, and that's probably not going to happen, but like if I ever write a book, it's just going to be called F Financial Shame, because I'm sick of it. Like I'm sick of being told that I'm always doing the wrong thing. And our industry really does a disservice, because so much of our fee models are structured to only serve the wealthy. You can come to us if you have $500,000 to invest with us. You can come to us and talk to us, and we'll help you win $1 million. And people are like, what the hell am I supposed to do to get to $500,000? Like you have to have better fee models set up, like a flat fee model or hourly or project based, to say like, yeah, I'm going to help you when you are $500,000 in med school debt and you have your first job and your first paycheck and you don't really know what to do and you just need some help. Like I'm going to help you then because I have a fee model in a service structure that can serve your needs.
Getting rid of the account minimums, I think, is a huge thing. And we talked about this again yesterday as well, that when people ask me what's our account minimum, I said, I don't have an account minimum. If you respect our time and are willing to learn and be educated, then I'll help you out, no matter what you have. Because some of these people, they could be high earners, but they might be $500,000 in debt because they have school loans and all this stuff. So when you look at their net worth, it's negative.
Okay.
And but they need help.
Yeah.
They need help.
Yeah.
And what the old advisors, so I apologize for the lack of a better term, but the old school advisors don't realize.
He's talking about
No. Well, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about mentality.
Yeah.
So you could be a young old school advisor. Yeah. They think that, because I've had people say this to me when I rolled out my subscription, that's great, help them, and then when they get the bigger assets, they're going to come to our firm to get help. And I promise you, I may be wrong, they're going to stay with me because I'm the one who helped them get there.
Yeah.
Our
100%.
planning together, our relationship, the reason they have the ability to come to you now is because of the work that I did with them, and I was willing to help them when no one else would. There's no bond that's going to be any tighter than that unless I mess it up. Like, it's on me to mess that relationship up. So you can think that you have that big minimum and that's the sweet spot to be in, but eventually those people are going to die off. Those assets are going to transfer to that younger client that I've been working with for 15 years, and it's coming to me. And oh, by the way, I've already got that higher scale model there's no reason for them to even look elsewhere.
So this is a good conversation. This is how the industry is shifting as a whole, and as you guys as young advisors that are working on a different platform, not just AUM based or not just based on account minimums, and it's not worth me talking to you unless you got $1 million or whatever it is. I don't know if you want to jump into that part, Justin, and just saying how you guys are a lot different and how you see the future of the industry.
I think it's a good transition out because